On BBC One now, QED investigates a project of startling technical complexity.
Right,
Set you up properly there.
I'm going to go for this one. That's a very, very difficult shot, so just watch me prove it.
Richard and I are not very good at this game, possibly because we are too easily distracted, just too human.
Right.
I suppose what we really need is a cool, calculating mind with an unemotional, unvarying temperament,
Oh, I got the wrong ball.
a little like a robot.
Yeah, we all make mistakes, don't we?
The popular image of a robot is a machine that can turn its mechanical hand to anything, a machine that would find snooker to be no problem. The truth is rather different. Every move this robot is making has been taught by a human. The machine is simply following actions that it has previously been taken through on an identical object. Of course, it can be given a certain degree of low-level intelligence. For instance, if it is given eyes, then it can see if something needs moving. Then position it accordingly. So the robot is beginning to think. On a modern industrial plant, many different tasks can be happening at the same time, with computers switching to the correct, pre-programmed set of moves as they sense what is required. Looking at all this activity, you might think that the robot can react to any situation as well as a human, but you would be wrong. Everything is tied to a limited number of options. If the robot meets something unexpected, it doesn't have the human's ability to consider other non-programmed options. It can only do what it has already been taught. I would like to produce a robot that can handle all manner of different situations, making decisions based often on its own experience of what worked before. Such a robot could perhaps decide how to spend its spare time. It was while considering how to design such a robot that we thought of the challenge of snooker. This angle is a problem. My name is Kurosh Kodabandalu, but some people call me KK. I work in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Bristol.
Right.
This is Professor Richard Gregory, who is head of brain and perception at the university. Richard has suggested that I try to make a robot that plays snooker well enough to challenge an expert.
Now, I'm not good at this game, which is rather nice because it means I have to think what I need to do, and therefore we can use our sort of introspection, so to think, as to what the robot needs to do.
And what the best line is. We soon discovered that in some situations a robot may have a positive advantage. I'm going to need a rest here.
Have a look. The robot might not. Think about it. It's got its arm, can work out here, can't it? So
yes.
It might not need a rest.
If you had a one-armed robot somewhere there, it could take the shot in that direction, couldn't it?
So the problem for the robot is not exactly the same as your problem.
No, it isn't, is it? Now, of course, we need to detect the position of these balls pretty accurately.
Right.
And one problem we're going to have is definitely with these shadows.
We don't want it to think the shadow's a ball that goes clonk onto that.
No, we don't, no.
That could be a real problem.
Yes.
Because it does dead easy for us to see what's a shadow and what's an object, but actually it's a tricky bit of computing.
Of course, you've got these highlights, the reflections of these of the ball there and there.
Yes. Do you think that'll confuse it?
Yes. Are those balls in the right position, I think? Back in my laboratory, I soon realized that problems with lighting were only the tip of the iceberg. My assistant Terry and I started by looking at a classically designed robot, which could certainly be programmed to make a simple shot on a small table. That wasn't too difficult, but as you might expect, if the balls were not placed in precisely the right position, worse still, this robot is quite elderly, so it's too inaccurate to be sure of making precisely the same move each time, and that clearly will not do. To overcome the problem of accuracy on the other robot, we've moved to this robot, which is more accurate, but we have a problem with speed. The robot simply doesn't move fast enough to pot a ball. Now, in order to overcome that problem with speed, we're going to put a mechanism at the end of this robot which would take the shot for us. And we're going to call that a self-actuating cue. We're working on our prototype self-actuating cue. It is like a bicycle pump in reverse. Releasing a valve forces the cue out fast enough to pot the ball. It will probably be all right when we have sorted out the air pressure, but it will be several months before we need to worry about that too much. First, we must analyze just what goes on in a typical game. Look at this table. There are 20 balls on it, but which is which? Which of those balls is the white? It is obvious to us, but there is no reason why it should be obvious to a robot. Having identified the white, which ball is one allowed to play next? The robot must know the rules of the game. So it's going for a red. But which red? The easiest shot may not necessarily leave the cue ball in the best position for the next shot. Or maybe all the shots are so difficult that it would be better not to try a pot at all, but to play a safety shot. Clearly a lot of value judgments are required. Now when it's made its decision, it still has to put it into action. So the robot must move to the right position, then it must play the shot with just the right amount of force. Oh, and after all that, if the shot didn't quite work, it should learn by its mistakes. To overcome all these problems, I'm going to have to spend some time finding the right people to help me. Taking shots, possibly with more balls to play a game. The project naturally falls into various categories, so I have chosen some specialists to make up my team. The main requirement of all of them, though, is the ability to handle a host of different problems and the patience to get them right. Your software into the system by linking to the vision system. William and Ian work on the vision unit. It consists of a camera suspended from the roof and a computer capable of analyzing what the camera sees. At the moment, the camera can only see half the table, but no doubt we will get round that problem. I've spread out a selection of balls to test the vision unit. This picture from the camera consists of a series of coded electronic signals to the computer. The computer has to process those signals into information that it can pass on to say precisely where each ball is and what color it is. It all seems so obvious to us, but for the vision unit, it is a considerable amount of computing. The camera's pictures are in black and white, so the unit has to recognize the balls by how grey they are. A vision unit that works with color would cost an awful lot more, but frankly, this seems to do quite well. The first bit of computing, then, is simply to identify what is ball and what isn't. It indicates what it thinks is a ball by putting a ring around it. Then it looks for the nearest hole, and for each ball calculates the correct line for a pot. Finally, it passes this information on to the robot. Here is one example of how critical everything is. This table looks perfectly evenly lit to us, but to the camera, the slightest variation in brightness can cause problems.
The beam of sunlight hits the table. It is picked up on the table as an object.
Yes.
Now
there's not really any way around this, is there, at the moment?
Well, we can check the area of the object, for example.
Yes.
The area of the object, if it's too large for a ball.
So William and Ian will try to get around this problem by programming the computer to reject anything it sees that is not the shape of the ball.
Okay.
Ken's job is to program another computer. Eventually this will be the decision-making part of the system. It is a bit like a chess computer, but with snooker. At the moment it selects random formations of balls to work with, but eventually it should get this information from the vision unit. In this case, the white ball is the ball at the extreme left. The computer looks first at all the reds that the white can see without being obstructed, then works out the correct line to each. 5.
That's right.
And it's now going to test for the pockets. Let's see that. Next, the computer is taking each of the red balls in turn and calculating the route to every unobstructed pocket. How many more pockets left to test for? This takes a little time, but we hope to improve this with better programming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you speed that up a little?
Yep.
Now it gives you
Alright,
all
it's
the
got to the
position.
final position.
Yes.
So it's tested for all the pockets, then it's gone back and said, well, these are the reds that I've picked, and I'm going to pot each red into those pockets that I've selected.
That's right.
Now, for every possible shot, it looks at the distances and the angles involved and works out how easy it thinks that shot will be. It gives each shot what we call a difficulty factor. So it's giving you a difficulty factor or an uncertainty factor in this case.
And then it wants to try this shot, whether there's any...
So for the shot with the lowest difficulty factor, the computer is looking ahead to see the next possible shot that the robot could make.
And now we
Right, it's actually picked to pot the red into the side pocket, then end up in position to take the black into the same side pocket.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, good.
Right, well I think the problem we've been having there is the message being sent from the reflex system across to the vision system.
Yeah.
After all this, we could do without silly little problems, but this is one. We are having incredible difficulty getting information successfully back and forth between the vision unit and the robot. We call it a handshaking problem. Its effect is rather as if the vision unit spoke English and the robot spoke French. They have great difficulty understanding each other.
It's waiting for your message after your message has been sent.
Yes, right.
It's as if there's a delay that's got to be put in somewhere to try and solve this problem.
Yeah.
Heaven knows how we'll cope when Ken's computer is linked into the system as well. I made out a diagram of all the hurdles we've still to overcome. We've got a lot of work to do yet. Overcoming all those hurdles sometimes meant going back to square one. To get everything to work, we had to introduce a smaller table and yet another quite different kind of robot. But patient refinement had sorted out a lot of our other problems. The self-actuating cue is now working well. Ken's computer is wired in, and we seem to have cured the handshaking problem. Ian's vision unit is getting rather good at identifying precisely where the balls are. This is helped by having a second camera physically attached to the robot. First, the robot moves out of the way for the ceiling camera to see the whole table. The vision unit then gets the picture and identifies the colors of the balls and notes their rough positions. This information is then sent to Ken's computer. The computer chooses the best shot. It's getting much quicker at doing this now. There it is. Next, the robot moves with its onboard camera to the target ball and the white ball in turn to find their positions more accurately. The vision unit marks where it thinks the balls are. As Richard and I predicted at our first snooker match, reflections from the overhead lights make this a little inaccurate. But it is close enough to allow the computer to calculate where the center of each ball is. This is the vital piece of information needed by Ken's computer to tell the robot precisely how to play the shot. Mind you, extraneous light is still a problem. Here the vision unit has been thrown by a streak of sunlight on the bottom left corner of the table. I'm afraid the computer is still marking it, thinking it's a funny shaped ball. The fame of the project is growing. The expertise we are developing will be of great use to industry. So industry is coming to have a look. Constant lighting or uniform lighting. Okay, do you want to go again and go for the brown this time? If it picks it up. The computer says it's going to pot the brown ball into the center left pocket. With an important audience like this, it would be nice if it succeeded. What a fluke! What a player! But of course, what I should say, in a real game, that would count. In industry, though, the robot is going to have to do without flukes. No. By now we've made impressive progress. More often than not, the robot actually pockets the right ball into the right hole.
Okay.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Oh, I mean, how much work's gone in? A year and a half
year
into
and
that?
a half.
That's a miracle.
And over...
Steve Davies has come down to tell us how he plays shots.
It's not quite what you probably want.
We've decided that the time has come when our computer is ready to learn the tricks that pure mathematics alone could never teach it.
And also that red goes into that middle pocket. So I'm now looking for a colour that once I potted that, I've then got an easy way to get onto the next red, right? So I could first of all, even though the yellow's an easier ball, I could pot the red into there, get to the pink here, and then pot the pink and leave myself there for that red into the middle pocket. Or I could pot the red into here, send the white ball over this way a little bit, pot the yellow and come down the red for this come down the table for this red. So I've got choices, and a lot of it is intuition as well.
If Ken can find a way of translating this knowledge for the computer, then we should have saved ourselves years of development work.
That you always have, or do you actually only go for 2 shots at a time? You work two steps ahead.
Well, I take three balls ahead. You try to.
3 balls ahead.
The ball you're going to pot.
Yeah.
The colour.
And the red
And the red after that. There's no point in looking any further than that.
One of the other questions which I think we skimmed over was that, do you actually react to a pattern? And you sort of look at the table and you know what you're going to do?
Oh, it's going to pot one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fantastic.
I think having Steve here has been extremely useful from many points of view. One, is given us a lot of confidence, knowing that certainly he was impressed by what he saw. His reaction was very positive, and he was able to give us information which we would have had difficulty getting at. Incidentally, we finally got some new blinds to solve the leaking sunlight problem. Almost 2 years to the day from when we first started, we've been pushed, a little unwillingly, into a match. Steve is here again, but we thought he might be just a bit too good for the robot. So we are going to have a little role reversal.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bristol University for this one-frame challenge match that could stretch to 2, depending on how it goes. Representing the professional world of snooker, Ted Lowe, a legend in his own microphone. And from Bristol University, the robot.
We have an influential audience of university and industry people here. Although they hope to be entertained, it's also very important to me that today can prove to them that we have not been wasting our time on this project.
Well, here we go.
And so it's the robot to break in this first frame. Good tactical break there, hasn't left Ted much. And now Ted Lowe, the ancient youngster from Bexhill-on-Sea, comes to the table. So Ted Lowe in quite a little bit of trouble here with his shot. Forced to play safe and left what seems to be quite an easy red into the top pocket there for the robot. Slightly biased crowd here we have today. Obviously had a big bet on the robot in the first frame. Now attempting the green into the corner pocket. A long shot, this is a tough one. Oh! So with the break at 4, the robot going for a difficult red into the corner pocket. Oh, that was a difficult one. So this gives Ted Lowe a chance to make a name for himself. And you can make your own name up. It hits the cushion immediately. So you've got to aim to miss it nearly to pot it.
After a good start for the robot, Ted's skill begins to show.
There we go.
Now, oh, blimey.
An unfortunate error for the computer gives Ted a good chance to clear the table.
Come down for the
Does
pink.
that go?
Well, yeah, it'll knock it in when the pockets are enormous.
It probably will, yeah. Now,
And with 7 reds left on the table, it's probably just a formality of these balls going in the pocket. Ted now with the very easy pink. 7. And now just an easy red that he's missed again. The robot really has rattled him. Quite a difficult shot here for the robot. And not a bad attempt either.
I don't think it's on, is it?
I think you might just go. When you get round there, I think it goes in there. You could,
Does it?
Yeah, you could pop that and get on the black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I might try the double if it's not.
I'm actually on the robot side, but I've just...
Yeah.
Nothing personal. I've had a bet on the robot.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I've got odds.
Yes, ready to go.
Well, Ted under a bit of pressure here in the early stages of this game.
Here we go.
Delicate shot there from Ted. One of the problems, of course, in playing the robot is to manoeuvre yourself around the table, not the... Black into the corner.
Partly due to some extraordinary human errors.
In and out, as they say.
And partly due to some excellent computing, the score remains quite close for a while.
Black into the opposite corner and red into the middle. And black into the corner. No, it deciding on a sensible safety shot.
But safety first means that the robot might not catch up fast enough.
Ted's in trouble. He's snookered by a lamppost. This could be a difficult one. Yes, and that safety shot really paid off.
Well done.
Red. Great shot. Just for the record, if this pink goes in, it's the highest break yet by this robot. Oh! Oh, it suffered a bit of nerves there, I think.
We'll have some chalk this time.
The true professional that Ted is. Chalking his tip before he miscues.
How do you do? Hey!
Get a suntan at the same time here, Ted. Using the loop bridge to great effect there. Got himself stuck a bit here. The only professional limbo and snooker player in the world.
I'm going to try the blue.
Gonna try the blue.
Foul.
Around the middle of the game, the score is still very close, but the pressure is obviously beginning to tell on Ted. And although we know it can't be true, the pressure seems to be getting to the machine as well.
Well, should have done.
After a series of unfortunate misses, the game suddenly looks to have swung in Ted's favour.
This is a very, very exciting moment. Clear the lot here.
But where's the next red?
No, I can hit it if I can get at it.
You wanted to get at it there. Another disappointing shot from the robot leaves Ted with a chance to polish off the match. Yes.
Finish it off.
It may well be. Let's see.
Think you might be playing again in a minute.
An average shot from Ted brings the robot back into the match, but unluckily with a very difficult shot. Nice. I see you're cheering you on. Well, that mistake by Ted gets the robot back into the game. But there aren't quite enough points left on the table to gain the lead. A miscue, and right at the end. So the final score is Robot 43, Ted Lowe 55.
And so Ted Lowe wins the special challenge match this week. Steve Davis, Mechanical and Engineering Department, Bristol University.
So we didn't quite win, but we certainly did well enough to please the audience. One of them is Graham Pike of IBM.
What we've seen here today is the merging of three technologies, integrating the vision system, the expert system, and the mechanical manipulator itself, the robot itself, which is quite marvellous. The real application, of course, is in industry, where there are many applications where tasks have to be satisfied by humans making judgments about situations. It may be as simple as clearing the swarf from a fixture in a machine tool before you put the next component on. Someone has to decide, where is the swarf? Is it a serious problem? What sort of direction do I need to blast it with air to clear it, and so on, so that we can actually proceed with the next part. So there are many applications.
We've demonstrated that the robot is capable of doing some good things, and in this case you've got the robot playing a reasonable game. I think what's next is for us to do a lot more research and a lot more work to get it to become more advanced. We still have certain doubts in our minds whether it can beat someone like Steve Davis, but I think we can only but try.